Okay, so trying out a horizontal video now to answer a friend's question about photography because we're both professional photographers. And they were asking something to the effect of, is charging $300 an hour good for event photography? Now, for those of you who don't know, I haven't raised my rates since maybe over a year and a half ago, but I'm around $600 an hour. Unless it's like a family shoot, then it's like $900. But I definitely don't book a ton of those separately. I'm primarily in events and headshots and portraiture. I really like interacting with a lot of people. And honestly, I don't have a bunch of baby toys or the things that you like put on the camera to get like baby's attention and stuff. But I love a good family reunion, private parties, times when people are merrymaking. So to answer the question about, what makes sense, there's a couple ways to look at it. Now, I'm talking as someone who's been doing photography professionally for 15 years, and maybe almost half that time now, it's been only photography, not consecutively, because I definitely still worked in like accounting and fundraising and nonprofits and writing, and used to do a lot of volunteering for various social organizations. And then I also shot a lot of public events sort of to share on social media. But from what I figured out, and this is through hard-won experience on my end, is I need to take care of my health and wellness. And I'm the type of person, apparently, that thrives on a lot more rest than I thought I needed in my 20s. So one of those things was why I decided, it's okay to charge more and perhaps make less on a total annual standpoint if it means that I actually get time to sleep at a decent hour. So I remember 3 or 4 years ago, I told myself, gosh, I really need more daytime gigs. And, within a year, it's like most of my gigs were daytime gigs. And last year I added like a after 5 p.m. fee, an after 8 p.m. fee, and then a weekend fee, because I realized every time I was working a weekend, I was giving up not only, the time, but I was also giving up opportunities to see my friends or to just actually relax on the weekend. And I had like this, this guy who's like easily over 1.5 feet taller than me, stacked like a football player, pick up, I offered him to, hold one of my cameras, and as soon as it got in his hands, you could tell it went down. I'm like, this guy is ripped, and he thinks my equipment's heavy, right? So I think asking yourself how much do you want to work is one way to think about or add as a factor to your pricing. If you were like me at a younger age, I just said yes to a lot of things because I had some people-pleasing tendencies, but I also wanted the experience, and I wanted to put myself in challenging lighting situations. I got extremely good at flash-free photography in low light in performance venues, which still serves me to this day because you're talking about speakers that are in like a non-lit part of the venue, and they need to look as good as your audience photos where you're using, flash at a closer range. I was charging like $100, $200 an hour for an event, but let me tell you something. I feel like this is the secret sauce. When your energy's low because you're doing that all the time, you're not making the best decisions for you or for your client. That's what I'm just gonna say, because if you're an entrepreneur, a leader, even a parent, not that I can talk directly of that, but everyone makes their best decisions when they're like decently well rested and they've taken care of themselves in whatever way that looks like for you. For me, that's like fresh food, sleeping early, drinking a lot of water, smiling a lot, working out, preferably through fun nature activities, like mountain biking or rock climbing. But feeling good, I think, is a really great way to think about your sort of goals, because people think, oh, I'm going to go into business for myself and that's going to make me happy. And listen, if you don't take care of yourself in anything that you do, you're not going to feel very joyful, right? I have no idea where my nav is taking me at this moment, so give me a second. And the other way to think about it also is, you know, photography doesn't have to be about the equipment, right? Like, if you're a creative and you've got the eye and you have a good understanding of light and color, you can make almost any situation work, but that's if you're given like full creative license. Now, if you're doing what I do often, which is you're put in varying light situations in multiple rooms with a lot of different people, sometimes on a really tight speaker schedule, and you need to nail a great shot of every single person that's on the stage, the performers that are moving around, while making people feel welcome and loved, you know, the equipment can make a difference. Like, there's a setting on my R5 where I can star images as I like them, and for headshots, that's really clutch, because I like to show people the photo that I'm taking and then have them help me figure out what looks like them and what feels good to them. And I've had people every event like remark, oh my God, like, it's so nice that you let us see the photos, right? So there's another secret right there. It's like, let people in on the creativity, let them enjoy a good shot, let them, you know, see that they're looking good and get excited about the album. So if you charge low, you know, you're not really accounting for the depreciation, or that's the fancy word for the fact that your equipment's going to wear out. When I was underslept earlier in my career, I like misplaced tripods. I lost lighting. Like, I just, you know, it's hard to think as fast as you need to nail every single shot you have on your list, in your mental list sometimes, because sometimes you don't have a shot list, but you know what you want to get. So I think really what it comes down to, and this might be more of a, you know, psychology or therapy type of conversation, but I think that we've got a really toxic notion that everyone's got to work super hard to make good money. And I think a lot of people are dying under that assumption. Like, I don't want to say that I don't work hard, because when I do, like, I work really, like, you know, efficiently and effectively. And what I mean in that example too is that when I'm editing, I try to make sure I'm in a great mood, because science has borne this out. Research shows that when you're not in a great mood, like, your vision's actually different. Like, it can look darker, it can look less colorful, and also your energy entering a room affects the shot. Like, I don't care what anyone says. Like, when you smile at your subject and they smile back and then you take the shot, like, that is a good shot, right? So I think I wish that people would charge more, and it's not just because I don't want to be one of the more expensive photographers out there, because I'm actually not. Like, there are people who do portraiture and whatnot that they get, like, I've read in the magazines and all this stuff, and it's not the type of work I necessarily do right now, but $3,000 to $5,000 a shoot, you know? And like wedding photographers that charge 10, 12K. And the thing that I would like to see change is that I want people to feel like they deserve to be paid decently, right? And you don't have to live extravagantly, but decently, to be able to get decent equipment, to do, you know, the right tool for the right job, and then to stay in business if that's what you want. Like, the pandemic took out a ton of BIPOC, it's Black, Indigenous, people of color photographers, I think, because it's hard sometimes being us, queer as well, because we might not have appealed to a larger market. But also, when you think that, you know, you're only worth $100, $200 an hour, and you're trying to make ends meet and your car breaks down, like, what are you gonna do, right? Like, I'm also pretty lucky. I want to put it out there, give credit where credit's due. My wife did get on an awesome health insurance situation where it's not really that much to insure me, and that took a load off. It also took a load off of me growing up as a poor kid, that I put some savings aside and had some savings for like the pandemic and some other nice little emergencies, like this house fire that was next to our house, or next to our apartment last November. You know, given I still have debt that went up during that time. But do what makes you feel good is not necessarily completely wrong. Like, you know, if it makes you excited to earn a good rate for a particular gig and it puts a smile on your face and the client feels like it's fair, what's holding you back, right? Like, is it the fear of if you raise your prices, you're not going to work enough? Or is it if you raise your prices, you're going to lose a certain client? And if you like that client, like, personally, then just be friends. Like, be friends with them. You don't have to shoot for them all the time. You can give them referrals to other photographers like I do all the time. But I really think I've had these conversations with another photographer a lot, and I kind of wish that this was actually a dialogue between us, because I think that sometimes, you know, when you see someone's eyebrow raise up, or, you know, you hear like an audible, you know, reaction, you're really getting to the meat of something that I could go into deeper. But as somebody who's been in this Twin Cities market and made a decent living in the last few years, once I really put some things together, and I'm about to raise my rates again while offering a slightly lower price package for something I really want to do and build a separate portfolio of. But I really love being able to have sort of the rest so that I can do low power mode, so that I can do more creative things too. Because when I was younger, you know, in my 20s, I did a lot of the creative things on top of having a 60-hour-a-week job, on top of launching my business on weekends and nights, on top of being on the executive board of several nonprofits. And guess what? I was 28 when I had a heart attack. So, you know, just think about the life, or visualize the life that you want, and then start to figure out what pieces fit into that when it comes to your pricing, when it comes to what your schedule looks like, what works for your body. I know in the case of the friend that I'm responding to directly with this, while hopefully helping at least one other person out there, he runs high body temperature wise, and I run kind of low, so being outside in the sun's great for me. So I love an outdoor gig. I love going out there and taking action shots of people doing things. Like, I've worked with the state of Minnesota for the tourism bit on outdoor cycling. I've taken photos of a cycling team that I love. Went out and then also the opposite, did winter biking photos once too, and I was climbing trees and sitting on the laying down on the ice and snow to get a shot. But whatever gives you the energy to keep doing what you love. And if photography is not what you love, then that's something that you should really think about and put some action towards. You know, I know some people that charge more because they're really good at doing it, but they don't love it. And there was one time where I got referred to some client that I wasn't sure I wanted to work with, and I took that advice of, like, bid them double, you know, what you would normally charge, and they ended up paying that, and I was super stoked. So in terms of pricing, a lot of it's going to be based on how long you want to be in the business, what you love, how you got to take care of yourself, and what kind of photography you want to be doing like the next year, right? If it means that you've got to get better equipment or more expensive equipment, not that it's always better. I have another photographer friend that just went into a smaller, cheaper camera setup because the technology is so far advanced, right? And the style that she shoots doesn't need like super crisp, low light quality because they're largely outdoors, or they can plan their shoots that way. So there are a lot of factors, of course, but I don't think 300's like too high. It's what I used to charge like many years ago. But there's inflation too. Like, you gotta eat. And when you work more, you gotta eat more. And when you work more, you gotta sometimes eat out. And sometimes when you eat out, you gotta work out more. Because, you know, restaurant food's not the highest quality food out there. They also run a business, and they've gotta pay for their employees and their building and all this stuff. So, you know, the economics of it all. I don't think my friend actually knew that I went to school for economics. I didn't go to school necessarily to be an economics major, but I found it to be something that was very logical and came easily to me at that time. Not that I loved everything about it, but there are personal economics, and there are the social, broader economics, like prices going up in general. So, you know, I think I'll end on, I used to charge $300 quite a while ago, and I don't think that's too high, because I definitely charge double that. Thanks.